And we're back with another episode of Demon Souls in Design. So I think now we will go to World 4 for the first time, and there's a few reasons why. We can show how Demon Souls can be pretty strict about how level design is altered through the RPG mechanics, and how the game really enforces that. So right now we have the Thief Ring, and we also have a shield. We just got a shield in the last level. We're not going to use either of those for this part. And we're going to try to run through this area. Now, the reason why we're going to do this is because, as a lot of people probably know, in Souls, once you get better at the game, or the games in general, running through the levels can oftentimes be easier than actually fighting the enemies. So we're going to try that right now. We're going to try just running through this area. And might not work out as easily as it does in some of the other games. So this is an interesting design decision that was changed throughout the series. If we could, there we go. Okay. So we're just going to run for it and see what happens. Okay. Not too much damage. Uh-huh. And this is the problem. So as you can see, the enemies have really good tracking, and they're really fast. And we definitely have to go in here. Yeah. And we made it. Just barely. So yeah, running... Oh, wow, okay. So yeah, running through the levels in Demon Souls, not as easy... Well, at least in this level. And also keep in mind, we have, we've raised our vitality a bit, and it's in, and we're in body form. And we only survived with 17 HP. So not too easy. So now, let's try that again. Actually, we could just... Yeah, let's use an actual binding to get back. So yeah, not the easiest thing in the world to do. Alright? Yeah, a new player would most likely die there. Probably not be able to pull that off. Especially if you're in soul form, you would have a much smaller chance of actually pulling that off. Now, if we use the Thief Ring and the Steel Shield, the differences this level can be. Or in fact, we could just show trying to actually fight the enemies without these things as well. Yeah, so that's a big design decision that's different than the other games. So the skeletons move faster than the player, and their movement has an attack all of its own. So yeah, actually right now, we'll just go through the level as normal. So another problem, yes, these enemies are ridiculously fast. Like, I couldn't even combo them with the longsword there. They're very movement attacks. So you don't see enemies like this in a lot of the other games. Not typically. Like right there, got hit, even in my R1 string. And it gets trickier up ahead without the Thief Ring. Okay. Attack out the archer. Like for example, without the Thief Ring here, yeah, you're probably going to have to fight both these guys at the same time, which is a big problem. A very big problem. Oh, Jesus. I kind of got lucky there. Okay. So now let's use the Thief Ring and Steel Shield. So yeah, this is, I would say in the... Now, here's what someone might be thinking right now. They might be thinking, oh, so you're saying Demon Souls level design is harder? Not quite, as we'll demonstrate now. So let's put on the Thief Ring and Steel Shield and see how this plays out differently now. Oh, and we should also put on the Cling Ring since we have no HP. Okay, and keep in mind we have a lot less HP now as well. So now we just do this. Actually, I shouldn't even strafe, because I wasn't strafing before. Okay, just block, hit, and wait. Without the Thief Ring, it's much easier to pull one at a time. Block, So the main difference, I would say, is Demon Souls can be more punishing when you aren't prepared, but when you actually have even the slightest bit of, just slightly taking advantage of the mechanics, makes things much easier. Like, that's kind of Demon Souls, a big difference between Demon Souls and the newer games. Demon Souls is more puzzly in nature. When you don't have the proper solutions, it can seem much more difficult. But once you have the right tools and you know what to do, the difficulty goes drastically down. Even that attack, he can't really punish me for it. Even though you're not really supposed to block that. But it did not, okay, did not matter. Like, look at just, I'm basically, the only difference really is I'm just waiting with my shield up, and the difficulty is drastically less. Like, look at this. I'm not even trying to manage my stamina. I'm just holding the shield up. Yeah, and pretty much anybody could beat this part like that. Much more difficult than running through the level. Much more difficult than trying to fight them with just the sword. If you have a thief ring and a shield, it becomes almost, too easy, I would say. And that's, I honestly would say that's a design flaw of Demon Souls. It's a little too puzzly in nature. It can be too punishing when you're not doing things, quote-unquote, the right way, and too easy when you're doing things, you know, supposedly the correct way. It kind of limits player creativity, and it doesn't really feel as rewarding. It almost feels like the game just kind of gives you a win when you have the right tools. Oh, and there's a mini-boss-like enemy guarding soul remains, which are a really powerful item, and a really powerful weapon there that we're actually not going to use. Crescent Falchion. It's intended to help basically let you beat the early game without as much trouble. But just note, the Thief Ring lets you get the soul remains without even dealing with this enemy. But let's see what this enemy can do against our Steel Shield. So yeah, even against a mini-boss-like enemy, Steel Shield's pretty effective. Actually, ridiculously so. There we go. So he got through our shield eventually. So I'll go for a backstab. So yeah, this is an enemy most new players are probably not really intended to fight. Yeah, you can do it pretty easily with a shield, if you know how. So yeah, shields in Demon Souls are honestly way too good. The defensive mechanics in general are way too good. One of the problems with this game, I would say. It's something they improved in the later games. In the later games, they iron things out, they balance things better. You can't trivialize the game as easily by doing simple things like that. Actually, if we just check the Falchion, yeah, it does more damage than our +5 longsword. Now, it does do split damage, meaning it does physical and magic, which usually gives you less overall damage output, but it is important to note that a lot of enemies in this game are weak to magic, so the Crescent Falchion is really powerful early on. Actually, let's continue this way. So this is an important like narrative kind of moment for the player, because that's an enemy that most new players died to at the start of the game. So this is kind of like a rite of passage kind of moment. It's kind of like building the player up, like saying like, hey, now it's your chance to beat this guy, right? It's a way to show that you've improved in the game, you've learned, you figured out what you're doing, you build up your character and your skill. So let's see what happens. Let's fight him. And also we're getting shot at by Manta Rays. So it's actually harder than the first time you have to fight him. There you go. And a lot of players might realize, fighting him again, that he's actually not that hard. It's actually a very simple boss. The AI is very rudimentary. Like, look at this, he's doing the same thing over and over again. And a Manta Ray's even shooting at me. And this is kind of demonstrates what we were just talking about with the puzzle-like design, because this boss may seem difficult when you don't know how to play the game, but once you know what to do, the difficulty goes way down. It's actually really simple. You just kind of, you know, be patient, learn how to dodge his attacks. It's actually pretty simple. That's kind of an example of that. There wasn't really much action-based combat there. That was mostly just knowing what to do and executing it. It's very puzzle-like. And that's something that's going to keep showing up. And you get a reward of a good weapon, a katana. But yeah, that's kind of how Demon Souls works. And it's kind of how Demon Souls is in a lot of ways different than the other games. I would say that it's still, that puzzle-like nature exists in all the games, but it's most strongly utilized in this game, and to a lesser extent Dark Souls 1, but mostly base game Dark Souls 1. Even by Dark Souls 1 DLC, Artorias of the Abyss Edition, it's something that was mostly not abandoned, but simply focused on less. The scales of balance of puzzle and action got tipped a little bit more in the action side of things. Block it, shield. There you go. And we come down here, we meet a new character. Door locked. And it will not let us talk to him. So we can see that someone's in there, but we need a key. So this is a spot where, again, players who are exploring and trying to figure things out will be rewarded, because there's a good reason to rescue this guy. He is a merchant, sells pretty good items. Secret wall. Now that's a secret wall that I think is intended... Oh, hold on. Intended for players to discover. As we get hit a million times. Fantastic. I believe that is a secret wall that they intend for players to find, because if you just look at it, there's a winding path that leads straight into a dead end. Now, if you're playing online, there's probably a bunch of messages that would give it away, but even then, a lot of savvy players could probably figure it out, especially if you come from this way, because the enemy is right here, and it's, you know, it's kind of a clue. Again, it's using an enemy not to kill you, but to give you a hint. That's, again, another time where the game is using enemy placement and enemy design to help you, in fact, instead of it not actually trying to kill you. That's a trend you'll see a lot. And again, it's something that, the reason why that's so good is because players won't even realize that that's happening. So they will feel like they found this shortcut all on their own, through their own wits, when they probably didn't. They got a hint, but they didn't realize it was a hint, because your natural inclination is to think that an enemy is an obstacle, not actually something that's helping you. So it's a nice, like, little psychological trick that works in the game's favor. It makes the player feel good about themselves. Now, we're not going to talk too much about this. This is the trading merchant, Sparkly the Crow. There's a tradition in all the Souls games. It's pretty much, it works basically the same way as it does in the other games. But it is nice to note that it is in fact start in Demon Souls. But nothing too interesting there to talk about. Now let's get the key for Grave Robber Blige, who's the guy in the prison we just saw. It's in this optional path. And there we go. Take him out. And these guys drop Soul Romance, so they're really trying to get you to get the soul. They're really trying to give the player Soul Romance here. There's a reason for that. We continue over here, and you see the item, and you also see the trap. Now, most savvy players will see this and simply move around it, but it's also important to note that if you hit this, you do have a chance to save yourself. So it's not. There's actually quite a bit of delay there if you watch that. So again, it's not really even a gotcha. You actually have multiple chances of avoiding that. It's a pretty fair trap. You see it before you get there, and also you have time to react to it. The traps in this level are pretty forgiving. So now that we have the key, let's head back to Grave Robber Blige, see what he can offer us. Let's see here. Where is he? If I can remember the right path. I think I'm going the wrong way. Wait. Oh. There we go. And here we are.
Whew, you saved me. Heavens, I can't believe I fell for that trap. I suppose I owe you now. I'm Grave Robber Blige. As thanks, I can provide you with useful goods. Who couldn't do with a little help down in these parts?
Alright, so let's buy. So he has good grass, which is nice, fresh spice, and the more soul remains. Sticky white stuff, which is a really powerful item. Cloudstone, we don't care too much about that. It sells a lot of weapons. So he has a pretty good merchant, has a lot of good items. We'll buy a couple soul remains, because why not?
This shrine, was used in a ghastly ritual by an ancient tribe. They've long perished, and now demons have put the souls to work. At least here you're killing things that are already dead, like skeletons and shadow lurkers. That's what I like about this place. Better than killing those poor, soul-starved humans, right? Better than killing those poor soul...
So...
Satisfied? I'll have more for you next time. May we have a long and fruitful relationship.
So we learn about the lore of this place a little bit, that the demons apparently can use the souls of long dead people to their advantage. So what you kind of realize is that nothing here is... The reason why you're fighting... There's really nothing here that's naturally an enemy to you. You're fighting, you know, like warriors of the past who have really no ill will. But it's kind of one of those things where the story's kind of playing with the idea of corruption. The demons can corrupt these people. It's an old, you know, it's a very classic storytelling trope. Nothing too crazy. Dark Souls 1 also has a similar idea to that, where, for example, the Dark Race used to be, you know, kings that got, the four kings got corrupted. The Dark Race, it's implied, were usually originally normal people. I would say Dark Souls 1 did that better, though, because at least that, it's kind of, there's more of a relationship to the Dark Race, because a player can become one as well, where the player doesn't really have any relation to this land. But then again, depending on how you look at it, that could be seen as a positive, and then it's more desolate and alien. But I guess it depends what your preference is. So yes, ladders in Demon Souls are not common, and this is probably why. They are ridiculously slow. Bordering on kind of unfair, in fact. Not a big deal. So we have another mini-boss type enemy guarding an item and a skeleton in the way. So they're kind of throwing a lot at you right here. Important to keep in mind, though, is that you don't have to go in there. This enemy doesn't attack you unless you actually go in there. Especially with the Thief Ring on. So again, it's another situation where you see this dual katana, dangerous black red-eyed skeleton. You see an item near him, but you don't actually, you're not really forced into the situation. It's similar to the red-eye spearman in the first level. It's completely optional. Ooh, that is a guard-breaking attack. And also, a savvy player could simply backstab him, take the enemy, and run, which is probably what most players would do. So again, you're rewarded for being creative. You don't have to just kill the enemy, you know. That's probably what most players would do. I would hope, right? That'd be the smart thing to do. A trap. Also, if we examine this trap, you can see it. Although it's not easy to see, but you can see it. Like, even from this angle, you can see it, but it does kind of blend in. I don't know how many people actually notice that. But the thing is, if you come here and you see the trap on the ground, you should be able to look forward and notice there's probably nothing over there, and if you look behind you, then you'll definitely see it. So again, a savvy player should see that, especially since the pressure plate stands out. So again, these traps aren't that dangerous. They're pretty forgiving. They're not exactly well hidden. But this is one of the more dangerous parts of the level, where you're forced to be on a narrow ledge with enemies you can't really deal with shooting at you from the sky. And on this narrow ledge, there's then enemies guarding the path. But remember, we got all those soul remains. There was a bunch in the level, enemies dropped them, the merchant sold them. We use these to our advantage to make this area a lot easier. You just kind of walk by. So again, similar to the beginning of the level with the skeletons, having the proper tools makes the game much easier. It's not so much about skill and action, more about puzzle and solutions. And the mana rays are even missing me for some reason. And there you go. Don't have to do anything. Again, that's not difficult. Anybody could do that. It's just about knowing what to do. Again, very puzzle-like design. And we got more grass. Oh, and then there's an item over here. Now this is actually quite an interesting item here, if I remember correctly. This is Grave Robber's Ring. Check that out. It subdues your soul, making it difficult to be detected by black phantoms. Now, if I recall correctly, that is an item specifically for multiplayer. It makes it easier to hide from invading players. It actually makes you invisible until they get very close. Similar to the Thief Ring and the Cloak spell, but I think even more effective. So it's kind of interesting that there's also... they're kind of encouraging players the idea You don't always have to fight invaders, even other players. You can simply avoid them. Again, it's not always about brute strength or skill. Sometimes just being savvy. So they even try to incorporate that puzzle-like design into the multiplayer, trying to outthink people and avoid them instead of fighting them head-on. So the game is extremely consistent when it comes to that. So we come in here, another pretty obvious trap. Now this one might catch people off guard because you might not see it if you rush through. But even then, if you just kind of keep going naturally, it's pretty slow. So a lot of people probably dodge that on accident, in all honesty. So another black... Now this is the only black katana, dual-wielding black katana skeleton that actually is directly in the path of where you need to go. But again, if you have soul remains, you can just do that, and then you're fine. And look at how long he'll just do that. Makes it, you don't have to even fight them. So now for the boss of this level, Adjudicator. Can look pretty intimidating. Now I remember when the game came out, a lot of people struggling with this boss because he has an attack like that, which is pretty far-reaching and can be pretty dangerous. But we've been really harping on the puzzle-like design of the game, and this is kind of... Oh, got hit by rocks. This kind of encapsulates that idea. This kind of really was where you really see it. So if you hit his stomach like that, it does no damage. As you saw, if you hit him in this big, weak spot, you hear the fleshy sound, so you hear that it's hitting. So this is... Remember how we were talking about Zelda in an episode before, with weak spots? Now this is better than Zelda in that it's at least a little organic. It feels a little real. It's not just a glowy yellow spot. But again, it's very, very Zelda-like in that there's an obvious weak spot to hit. Now, puzzle-like in nature, especially because he can never hit you. Once you learn to just walk over here, he will do this forever. Again, there's no real action component to this. There's no real skill. It's simply knowing what to do and then executing it. You hit him there enough, his weak spot is exposed, and you hit it. His weak spot is actually a bird that really controls the boss. And that's it. For the weapon I'm at now, you do this twice, and you win. And very simple. This is extremely puzzle-like in nature. This is probably the most extreme example of a puzzle boss in the game. And there you go. Very puzzle-like in design. Doesn't get much more puzzle-based than that, honestly. And we get our soul, we get our body back. We revived. And let's get this item. We'll head back to the Nexus. I guess it's time to level up. Quite a bit of souls. Fantastic. So yeah, that's probably the most egregious example of a puzzle-like boss. Actually, now that I say that, it probably isn't. There might be more that are just as bad. We'll get to them later, but that's probably the most extreme example, right? Maybe? So yeah, puzzle design. So we have all these souls now. Let's just use a story hero soul. And see if we can level up. So now, if we raise our strength, we see our attack power goes up. Dexterity does not. It's because we're using the regular upgrade path of the longsword. So the scaling system is very similar to the other games. Again, I mentioned it before, the only real difference is the UI probably doesn't do as good a job explaining it. But if you're familiar with the other Souls games, it's pretty much the same thing. You see a lot of similar stats. Like Dark Souls 1 has resistance instead of luck. But other than that, it's pretty much the same system. So we're going to get another point of vitality. Get some strength for some damage. One more. Go up to 15 vitality. Get some endurance. You know, pretty basic character. We're not doing anything fancy. Again, we're trying to do this from a very more casual side of things, just to get we want a regular playthrough, like how a lot of players would experience it. So there we go. We're level 24, which is probably pretty under-leveled for this point in the game, honestly. Considering we've done 1-1, 2-1-2, 2-1, and 4-1, and only level 27, so it's pretty low. You can repair. Always need to remember to do that. Alright, so this is another thing to mention before. So there is some... I will say there are some kind of good things about this. So Demon Souls you need to repair, which is tedious. You need to deposit a lot, which is tedious. But it does give a certain game feel. It does feel like after each time you beat a level, you should kind of go to the Nexus to recoup and plan for the next level, in a sense. And it has a certain feel to it, which I kind of think is good. But I can't say that it accounts for the tedium, because it really does waste a lot of time in the long run. But it does have a certain quality to it, which I can appreciate, even if I'm not a big fan of it. So it's not a total loss. It kind of makes the Nexus really feel like a place that you want to go to. It feels safe. It feels like home.
Well, you found yourself a demon soul, did you? I'm impressed. Yes, indeed I am. Stay the path, and you will soon be a monster yourself. Can't you see you've fallen for their trap?
So the Crestfallen guy is continuing this plot thread of saying that you're basically just a pawn in the system and you're going to become, you know, the problem itself, which is a possible outcome. So now we've gotten soul remains. We got a good shield. We have a +5 weapon. Actually, we didn't even check if we could upgrade. I don't believe we can, but again, you always want to check. It's kind of how the Nexus works. Large hardstone shards is what we need. Actually, we have 2 on. Wait, no, we can melt stone. So if we want to get large hardstone shards, let's go to 2-1. Because the mines is where you get upgrade materials, which makes sense, right? So we need large hardstone shards. So I will say about getting more into detail of Demon Souls upgrade system is that I talked a lot about how it's bad. I would say at least the one good thing about it is, again, and this is something that keeps coming back to Demon Souls, is it feels very authentic. It feels really organic. The fact that you actually go to a mine to get upgrade materials for your weapon has a nice world-building quality to it. It really helps you roleplay. It feels like a real thing. It could work, I think, just fine if the upgrade paths were more consistent like the future games. So with the good, there is also the bad, right? So we got some large hardstone shards there. Like, this actually feels like you're really, you know, mining for materials. You're going through these mine carts. You see the enemies mining. It has a certain authentic quality to it, which I can appreciate. Even if I don't really like it from a gameplay perspective. But I can understand what they were going with the world building. And that's kind of the difference between, say, Demon Souls and the latter games. I'd say the latter games were more concerned about being solid gaming experiences. And Demon Souls probably more concerned about being a authentic role-playing experience. So I can understand in that regard why some people might prefer Demon Souls if you really want the role-playing, the world-building, and the more consistency of the world, I guess. Where in the future, if you like, maybe if you're more a fan of the combat in gameplay mechanics, you probably prefer the newer games. And is there another? Yeah, that one's gone. So we got more large hardstone shards, which is what we want. Now there's gonna be 2 enemies here. They're gonna be difficult to deal with. But remember, we have those soul remains. That can help us here. Soul remains work on almost everything. And they let you get a ton of free hits. It's actually crazy how good soul remains are. Wow, he's still affected by it. That's crazy. So yeah, they're extremely effective. Just ridiculously effective. Dragonstone can be really good, but we're not using it on this character, but it can be quite good. So now here's a little trick I'll try to show off. Another trick with soul remains. Hopefully I can do this correctly. So soul remains, most enemies go after them to try to, you know, they think it's an enemy to kill. Now, geckos, or lizards, I forget what they're called in the game. I don't remember if they're geckos in Dark Souls or lizards in Dark Souls, or vice versa. But, yeah, they always try to avoid you. So, logically, they should avoid soul remains, right? And that does, in fact, work. Hopefully we can get a good throw here. And I did not, so he's probably going to run away from that. Well, maybe I can show it off for later. It's actually a neat little trick. Ooh, we got 2 there. That was good. Alright, so we only got two's pretty good to get. Chunk of Heartstone and more large Heartstone shards. Pretty good. So a trick many players do in this area is use the Wrath of God spells to hit all the geckos. We're not doing that because we're just doing a basic melee playthrough, but it's something to keep in mind that, again, it's a situation where players who are utilizing all the different tools in the game and all different skills get rewarded for it. There's really no situation like that in the other games where having a very specific spell can make getting a farming spot much easier. Usually it's not like that. In one aspect, I think it's good to do that because it rewards players for really experimenting with all these skills. But on the other hand, I don't like it because it can feel like it's punishing players who aren't doing very specific things, because maybe a player doesn't want to do a faith build. Maybe they don't want, that can kind of hurt role playing. The game's really forcing you to use all these different things when it might not feel like that would, happen naturally in the world. It kind of goes, I guess it depends how you view it. Because for example, if there was a boss where you absolutely had to have a ranged option, that might feel kind of cheap, right? Now, a trap. Now that trap, as you can see, is actually pretty ruthless. It hits through the wall. It's at a very tight corner here. I would say most people do get hit by this trap. This one is much different than the traps we saw in World 4. This one doesn't pull any punches. And there's actually a lot of situations like that coming up in this level where there's pretty brutal traps. Yeah, we need a thrusting attack for this guy. World 2's traps are much more dangerous, I would say. More large Heartstone shards, that's what we want. Like this right here is a death, if I recall. Yep. So yeah, this area is pretty scary. At this point in this game, so here's another thing we should mention about how Demon Souls is difficulty scaled, quote unquote. So you see how there's 5 different worlds. Each world has at least 3 levels. So Bulletarian Pass is World 1, and it has Level 1, Level 2, Level 3, and Level 4. Stone Fang Tunnel is World 2. It has Level 2, Level 1, Level 2, Level 3, and so on. Each sequential level in each world gets harder than the last one. And that's based on level design and enemy HP values and damage values. So what that means is this is a second level of this world. So that's why the traps are much more dangerous in this one than they were in the first level or in World 4, the first level of World 4. Oh, and we see Patches, the hyena. The first time we've seen him in this game. Yep, Patches in this game too, just like all the Dark Souls games, and Bloodborne, and Kingsfield.
Oh, you're not mad like the rest, are you? Well, what jolly travelling companions are we? Pleased to meet you. Call me Patches. Oh, see that treasure over there? Go on and take it. My gift to you, just to show that we're friends. Phew, I'm glad to meet you. These soul-starved imbeciles will drive you mad.
Alright, we'll just get that item then. And also note how Patches immediately looks that you're doing this. Nice little touch.
My apologies. It's just not your day. As promised, the treasure is all yours. If you survive, that is. Good luck to you.
Alright, so what do we get? A pretty useless item. You can get clubs pretty easily. And yeah, you can just get out of here if you break these boxes and drop down. It's really not that dangerous. Pretty simple, honestly. And Patches goes up here.
You! How did you do that? Worry not. The treasure is all yours. Tough luck with the bear bugs, but you certainly showed them, didn't you? Here it is. The treasure. Safe and sound. Go on. Take it. Take it.
Ring of Flamers is not a terrible item.
You're simply unlucky. Worry not. Stay by me, and my luck will rub off on you soon enough.
So yeah, Patches is pretty consistent with his Dark Souls characters. So anyone who's familiar with Dark Souls knows what Patch is about. He's always up to no good, always trying to get you in an unfavorable position to take advantage of you, and always kind of tries to beg for forgiveness when things don't go his way. So nothing too crazy there for people who are familiar with Dark Souls. That's a time-honored tradition. So yeah, if you explore here, there's a lot of items. It's a pretty open area. It's one of the more open areas of the game so far. Also, as you can probably tell, not one of Patch's best traps in his history of tomfoolery. Pretty simple to avoid. Alright, so we'll continue this way. So these are more bear bugs he's talking about. They're actually not too dangerous. And they're rigged to piercing. Just like the miners. Although they're very tanky, they have a lot of defense, but they're really slow. Like you can just hit them over and over again. Really nothing much to worry about here. Unless I miss. Yeah. That's kind of World 2 in a nutshell. Slow enemies that are very tanky. They drop Dragon Stone, which can be very helpful, but now we're going to be using it in this playthrough. We're going to ignore these worms the best we can. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, I guess we're not doing that. Oh, and there's a gecko, which we want. And we're taking a lot of hits to kill it. And the reason why these worms are kind of a problem is because their weak spot is their little face where their opening protrudes. If you're doing pure melee, that can be difficult to deal with. So we're going to try to avoid them. But if you do hit that weak spot, they die really easily. So it's our merchant friend again.
Remember me? I've got plenty of wares, so bring me plenty of souls.
Alright. And he sells large hardstone now, and dragonstone. So we're definitely going to buy as much large hardstone as we can. Got 12 of them.
Hello there. Bless your souls.
We're actually going to buy more, because why not? We want to upgrade our weapon. So let's use these. Use all of these. Okay. Yeah, and you can only use one at a time in Demon Souls. Let's see. He also has regular hardstone, which we're going to need. Oh, we have 12 of those. 5 of these. 13. We have 15 and 12.
Hello there. Bless your souls.
That should be good for now. You know what we're going to do? We're going to kill ourselves. You know why? We have no souls left. We don't really care too much about our body form. Well, actually, you know what? We don't need to lose our body form because we can use Nexal Binding. So we'll lose 335 souls, but that really doesn't matter. So if you actually spend all your souls, you can do this to quickly warp. For convenience, because getting out of some levels can be quite tedious. That's a nice little trick. And again, that's something consistent throughout all the games. And then we'll use another soul to upgrade our weapons. This might not be enough.
It's simple.
Upgrade. Longsword. +6. +7. So +7 will be good now because we need more chunks. That should be good.
Do come back alive.
Alright, so now we'll be fighting one of the harder bosses in the game. Flame Lurker. Let's see. And we're going to use the sticky white stuff that we've been saving. And Ring of Flame Resistance. So we have a Ring of Flame Resistance, Thief Ring, Magic Buff, and our weapon is +7. And a Steel Shield, which also has... Oh, I thought I had more fire resistance than that. Well, we'll see. We'll test it ourselves. So, Flame Lurker is weak to magic, which is consistent with everything in World 2 so far. So a savvy player could definitely know to try magic on him, because, again, everything in World 2 so far has been weak to magic. And there was even developer messages saying so. And actually, we want to kill this gecko again. And also, cannot be ignored that Patches gives you a Ring of Flame Resistance ring in the level where you fight Flame Lurker. That's definitely intentional. So again, the game is really rewarding players who are savvy in exploring the levels. Let's heal up. Nope. Again, the game is very fair when it comes to things like that. And we're going to kill these guys because that guy has a bag of goodies that we want. And there we go. Chunk of hardstone, large hardstone, so that was very good. More upgrade materials are always nice. That guy doesn't have a bag. So this area right here is essentially the shortcut to the boss. We were close to the boss where we were before, but this is a much faster way. And it's really simple once you know how to go about it, but it can be very intimidating the first time. Again, kind of puzzle-like in nature. Once you figure it out, it's never really a challenge again. But this area can look very intimidating to a first-time player because there's all these different ledges, there's all these different items and spots where you can fall and die. But since we already know what to do, you can actually see how it's actually quite easy. Again, very puzzle-like game level design. More geckos. Oh, those aren't what we wanted, but that's fine. So yeah, it's very, again, level design is very puzzle-like. But, speaking of that, this is kind of why I want to fight Flame Lurker now. Flame Lurker is kind of an exception to this rule, one of the few. Obviously, again, all the Souls bosses have puzzle-like elements, and that there's certain patterns and things you can take advantage from. But Flame Lurker is definitely more action-oriented. He has actual attack strings with different timings sometimes that he mixes up. He can be fairly aggressive. Flame Lurker does require some actual action-based skills, which is very different from everything we've encountered so far. So hopefully we can show that off. But we'll also try to show how the RPG tools we have still do make the fight dramatically easier. Actually, I'm going to want the Full Moon Grass on the ready, just because they're better and we have more of them. So we have the Thief Ring on. That's something to keep in mind, because that actually does play a big part in this. If you have the Thief Ring on, he actually doesn't see you when you enter the boss room. And the game actually allows you to play with its aggro range. You can go all the way around him. The Thief Ring works even on a lot of the bosses in the game. And because of this, you can get a huge advantage on the enemy. So we'll two-hand our weapon, use the sticky white stuff, and get a bunch of free hits right at the start of the boss. And that's a lot of extra damage to get. This big AoE usually leaves him vulnerable like that. You get a big hit on him. If you hit him in the head like that, he staggers a lot. It usually happens with heavier weapons. So what he likes to do is swipe and then explode. He usually alternates. Like that. And on that attack, you can go around him and get hits on him. He likes to alternate. His leap attack like there is by far his weakest attack in the game. So let's use our shield. I want to show how the RPG aspects can be played to your advantage. Yeah, you can block him, and it's actually pretty effective. Then you can use that opportunity to get a hit in, block, back up, and get a hit in. So yeah, you can use a shield to very, very easily reduce the difficulty of this fight. And that attack is by far his worst attack. But our buff ran out, so we do a lot less damage now. Well, I was going to use my regular grass, but I wasn't ready. So yeah, you can just block, or I'll miss my block and get hit. But a lot of times he backs up like that when he hits you. Not always, but it does make the fight a lot easier when he does that. Block. Ooh, a combo string. So I guess this is a part where if my shield was more upgraded, it would make this would be a lot more effective. Because let's keep in mind, I do have this shield is actually at +0 still, and it's still pretty effective. You can kind of strafe around him. That's really bad attack it is. The hopping into you is definitely one of the scariest things you can do. So let's not attack in there. I want to show the shield more. Okay, you can just block that. Okay, it's actually pretty effective. Then you can get an opening and hit him. So you do take some chip damage though, but not a lot. We could kill him there, but we won't. Block, attack. Back up. Move in, hit. So yeah, shield, the shield, just this shield makes the fight so easy. I would say in the more modern Souls games, because keep in mind, this is considered one of the harder bosses in Demon Souls. This is usually considered in the top 3. Some people think it's the hardest, some people think it's the second, some people think the third. Very few people don't consider it at least in the top 3. And you can pretty much trivialize it with a... This was not even upgraded, just a regular steel shield. If this was +5, it would have probably been completely ridiculous. So, yeah, puzzle-like design. Even one of the more action-oriented bosses, you can really reduce the skill gap. Like, now imagine in, like, a boss, like, say... Think about, like, who would be a good example? Like the Lothric twins in Dark Souls 3. Obviously, there's RPG-based things you could do, but even with that, you know, you can't completely trivialize them unless you're like either very high level or, you know, have a very specific spell or something. Not just, you know, simply equipping a non-upgraded shield and blocking, right? So that is definitely something where they balance the games more as we went on. So we can, oh, we need another chunk of hardstone. That's okay.
Do come.
And now we talked a lot about puzzle and action. Now we're gonna see another puzzle boss. Another puzzle boss. One of the biggest examples of a puzzle boss in the game, because it is quite literally a puzzle. And this is where I would say Demon Souls kind of really drops the ball here, because I did say a lot of times how, while this game is very puzzle-based in nature, it's better than, say, games like games like Zelda, because it's more organic, it feels more real. But this is one where it doesn't, because it really feels like a fake puzzle boss, and that's not good for the role-playing and immersion of the game. So he always punches like that. So there's debris in the way. Oh, actually, I want to get this gecko. I actually do want this. Chunk of hardstone is good. So he doesn't see us over here. Oh, he hears us. Run back. Break it. Run back. Okay, let's run in now. So this is how the mechanic works. If his eyes are red, it means he knows where you are. If his eyes are yellow, he doesn't. Now, the idea is wait for him to look away from you, like right there, and then use that to break the debris. He broke that debris for us, though. So all we're going to do now is wait for him to look away, and then run for it. So it's pretty simple there. And now, this is a big part of what I mean about how this feeling really fake and artificial. This right here. This blue magic Arbalest thing. kind of convenient that there was magic arbalists positioned in the exact spot in the exact time to kill this giant dragon for us, right? But anyway, let's continue. So this part's a little more tedious, a little more difficult. But a thing to keep in mind is, you notice how it took us 3 hits to break those debris before? It's because breaking the debris is based on weapon. So let's try actually attacking it with our shield, like this. So if we peek out, see him looking up, wincing in pain from the arbalist we shot him with. So that's when you're safe to go through. So let's wait for him to do that again. I would say the different weapons being more effective at breaking debris is a good touch, because that feels realistic. You know, because a dagger, no matter how quote-unquote strong your dagger is, it's not going to magically break debris, right? The shield breaks them in 1 hit, where our longsword takes 3. Now we'll wait right here behind this pillar, so he doesn't see us. We wait for him to look up and wince in pain again. Another thing to keep in mind, the thief ring has no effect on this. It's only based on your position, like being behind these pillars. There's actually no RPG mechanics for the stealth section. It's literally just the puzzle of the boss itself. It's very, very straightforward, but very, very obtuse. A lot of people never actually understood how his aggro ranges work, because it can feel very unnatural. I made that probably look a lot easier than it actually is. It can be very easy to not understand when he's looking, where he's looking, why he sees you when he doesn't see you. But that's the general idea. Again, very convenient. Very convenient that there just happened to be another magic arbalist in just the right spot. But okay. Also convenient that his weak spot drops in the exact spot where you can hit him. But what can we do? What can we do? So head back down here. Now, I will say from a storytelling perspective, I think I get what they were going for. This giant dragon, the dragon god himself, is now reduced to this very pathetic state. I think you're supposed to feel almost sad for him. But again, the gameplay doesn't really carry it very well. And yes, his breath does actually do a lot of damage. You need to be careful. But if you do enough damage, you can kind of stunlock him, essentially. And just like that, World 2 is completed. And that's the end of Dragon God. And the game even rewards you with the Pure Dragon Stone. So if you want to make a dragon weapon, you don't even have to worry about getting the Pure, because just by naturally beating World 2, you will get all the things necessary to max out a dragon weapon. You attain the soul of an archdemon, the thick pillows fog shall oppress you no more. So now that we've completed a world, we could go to the end 1-3 if we wanted to in Boletarian Palace. So not too bad. So I guess kind of the point to take away from here is, in World 2, the big emphasis was magic damage, piercing attacks, and pretty much that's it. That was like the lesson they wanted you to learn in World 2. Although, there was actually a pretty big skill test in Flame Lurker compared to the rest of the game, which is a big departure from everything else we've done so far. That was the first one we experienced. Actually, can we upgrade our weapon? Yes, we can, +8 longsword. So we need a lot more upgraded materials to get +9, but that is fine for now. And we don't need to repair.
Duke.
But we can level up a lot. We have 49,000 souls, because we never even bothered to upgrade after fighting Flame Lurker. So let's do that right now, after depositing all our stuff. And there we go. Okay.
We are in.
And we don't need the flame resistant ring anymore, and probably never again. Cling ring is useless for us right now, but it doesn't really matter, I guess. Level up. So, if we raise strength, we'll get 1 damage. Dexterity, nothing. I think it makes more sense to get some endurance. Let's get the 15. Get to 20 vitality, because why not? And I guess a little bit of strength. Because more damage can always be good. And did we get any more souls? Regular souls. Yes, legendary soldier soul is really good. And strength. Now another thing to keep in mind. We're not using any of the boss souls. Now, there's really no reason for us to not use these. We could get a ton of souls by using these and level up a lot more. The reason I'm not is because I kind of want to keep my level low, is to not make it seem like I'm over level or doing anything that a regular player won't be able to do. But it would make sense for me to just use all these, because these are mostly used for spells or special weapons, which we're not even going to be using. So let's try to keep our level relatively on the low side. We're only level 34, and that's after doing all of World 2, 1-2, and 4-1. So pretty low level, I'd say, at this point. So I think that will do it for this current episode of Demon Souls in Design. And I guess next time we'll probably head into World 3? Not sure. Alright, let me see if I can... Oh, wait. Oh. There we go. Have a good one, everybody.